Hello everyone and welcome back to Ruby Lessons on Codecademy. So in the last lesson we were mainly talking about strings and what you can do with them and some methods which I basically call functions. So they're quite similar to functions, although they're called methods because they are called using an object. And because Ruby is an object-oriented programming language, we will learn about that later on. So basically, all you need to know about last lesson, we learned about functions that work on strings. For now, simply put. Today we're going to be looking at comments. We're going to start by looking at Singleline, then Multiline, and then naming conventions. Different programming languages have different ways of commenting things. So you have, in Python, I know that you have the pound symbol or hashtag or whatever you want to call it. In C++, you have the // or to get multiline, you have a / to open it, and then * to close it. Now, let's see what we have in Ruby. So you probably saw us use the pound sign a few times in earlier exercises. The pound sign is for comments in Ruby. A comment is a bit of text that Ruby won't try to run as code. So it's just for humans to read. It's basically a description of what's going on here. Why is it? You don't have to put it there, but it's helpful to put it there for somebody else looking at your program or for you looking at the program like a year later. Because you probably won't know what's going on if you haven't put good comments there. So writing good comments not only clarifies your code for other people who may read it, but helps remind you of what you were doing when you wrote the code days, months, or even years earlier. So the pound sign should come before your comment and affects anything you write after it, so long as you're on a single line. So we'll show you how to do multi-line comments in a second, so that comes later on. Check out these examples. So you have a full line comment and then you have another comment, which is again a single line comment, but it comes after something. So you can have a comment on its own, you can have a string equals, I don't know, random stuff, and then comes here as well. Both of these are comments, as the example says here. But here, in the first, on line 1, nothing is going to happen. On line 2, only this is going to be executed, whereas this is just going to be ignored by the interpreter. So the second example we will return for, since the comment comes after the code that Ruby will execute. And sometimes you might see comments being used to remove parts of code temporarily, because sometimes you want to see whether your program is going to work without the certain thing that you're trying to remove, and that which might make it more efficient, or just to see what happens if you don't have it in, what error you get for debugging, for example. So write a comment in the editor. It can be anything you like. Okay, so by doing what I have done here, I should be okay. So this happens. This normally wouldn't be displayed, as I've said before, but we have written 2 comments and it's fine. So let's move on. Multi-line comments then. So these are slightly different. You can write a comment that spans multiple lines by starting each line with a pound, but there's an easier way. So instead of having to do this constantly, and then you want to write loads of text on each line, you can use multi-line comments, which means you don't have to use a symbol on every single line, which is quite annoying. And if you program quite often, you might understand why. Like this, because you probably don't think of writing comments, you won't really need multi-line comments, but once you get more into programming, you will understand why multi-line comments are quite useful. So if you start with equals begin and end with equals end, everything between those 2 expressions will be a comment. So it won't be run or executed by the interpreter. So if you had something like this, because all of this text is in between equals begin and equals end, it will just be ignored basically. But you will be able to read it once you come back to the text, or to the code, I mean, not the text. Although it is quite similar. So don't put any spaces between the equal sign and the words begin or end, because that would mean something else. You can do that with math, so 2 plus 5 is the same as 2 plus 5, but in this case Ruby will get confused. Equals begin and equals end also need to be on lines all by themselves, just as shown above. So basically what it's saying is you can't have anything there, or it might cause problems, or there. Okay, so create a multi-line comment in the editor to the right. Make sure equals begin and equals end are on their own line. So let's have equals. So as you can see, equals now is a blue or very light blue sign. If I put begin, if I start writing it, it starts writing it as white letters, but once I finish writing it, it all becomes gray. And usually you will see a similar color change in a normal Ruby IDE, integrated development environment. Unless you have changed the settings for whatever reason, but okay, that's your personal choice. If you're just coding in normal, like Notepad, then you probably won't see the change. But the program in Notepad is not that good. So yeah, basically you should notice a change. If you're doing it on Codecademy, you will definitely notice a change. Let's just stick with that. Then you have equals end at the end, and anything I write in between here is going to be the color of the comment, in this case gray. Anything I write after this is going to be whatever it would normally have been. And also, if you do not have the equals end, everything after it is a comment, but sometimes that's fine. On other occasions, Ruby gets confused. So always remember to put an equals end after every equals beginning. So my recommendation is, for every equals begin that you write the equals end before you write anything in between them. Just like with opening parentheses or things like that. So let's actually do this task now. Save and submit code, and nothing gets returned. That's good, because we haven't actually done anything. Moving on. Naming conventions. So there are many different kinds of variables you'll encounter as you progress through these courses, but right now we're just concerned with regular old local variables. So hopefully we are told what local variables are later on. By convention, these variables should start with a lowercase letter and words should be separated by underscores like counter and masterful method. So Ruby won't stop you from starting your local variables with other symbols such as capital letters, dollar signs, ats, but by convention these mean different things, so it's best to avoid confusion by doing what the Ruby community does. So just stick to the normal convention basically. If you can't, then it's fine, I guess. For starting off, it's not a big deal, but if you are employed somewhere, it's probably better if you use conventions. So I wouldn't recommend starting it with uppercase letters, because sometimes that can be confusing as well. Normally, from what I know, you start objects with uppercase letters, which we should cover later on. So instructions: create a variable name, so name all lowercase, and it's a variable, so we know that we need to set it to be equal to something in the editor, and set it equal to your name as a string, so between quotes. Like this. Eric, for example, I've seen Eric so many times mentioned at Codecademy. Wonder if that's an important person. Okay. Your string can be capitalized, but name should be all lowercase. So name is all lowercase. My name. There we go. Save and submit code, and we are done. So that's it for this lesson, guys. If you have any questions, do feel free to ask them in the comments down below. In the next lesson, we will just be reviewing what we have done so far, including variables, string methods, and what we did today. So other than that, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe. It encourages me to make more videos like these and educate the world, maybe, hopefully. So yeah, until next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.